In simple terms, we break it down. Complex stuff, we make it sound clear and easy for you and me. Billy Goattails and Dave Digital bring knowledge we share. In simple terms, we're everywhere. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers gain.
Good morning, goats, and welcome to the Simple Terms podcast, where we break down complex topics into simple terms. You can find us right here on the Billy Goattails Network. And I like to say good morning. This morning, guys, we are going to jump into the Aerodrome Finance token. And I know for a fact that you guys have not read the white paper on Aerodrome Finance, because there is no white paper on Aerodrome Finance. As you know, what we learned with Ondo, a new trend, the newer tokens, and of course, put a one in the chat if you can hear me. But the newer tokens, you guys know, they don't create a white paper that's stagnant. They create a website that they can grow with, and they could keep, as the token grows, they can make updates and they can do roadmap changes. So that's what we're doing with Aerodrome Finance. Is we built the white paper. We loaded it up. We have a conversation loaded up. You guys know how it works. Once we get started, what'll happen is we will get everything started. We'll say our hellos. And then if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the chat. What I'll do in the chat, star them in the chat, and then we'll come back to them as we go. Just to double check, make sure everybody can hear me. You can hear me good in the audience. Put a one in the chat. I see you, Curtis. I see you, Steve Hickey. I see you, Jesse. Let's see here. I saw Alexander G and Crypto Billy. Again, one in the chat if you guys can hear me. Curtis Heel. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see. Am I missing anybody that's here already? I don't think so. Jesse always here early. Mike Lolmer. Good to see you, bud. Mike Lolmer in the chat. Good, 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 good. Okay, you can hear me. Everything looks good. Crypto Billy, Steve Hickey. All right, good. All righty. So let's just do real quick. Let's just do a. There we go. Put that back down. All right. Let's. Oh, I do want. If you guys like the lighting, give me a thumbs up in the chat and shout out to Joe from Traders Intuition. So what he said was, he's like, I just take some paper towels and I put them over my lights, and because otherwise they'll be too bright. So I did the same thing, and it seems to work like a charm. It feels like the lighting is perfect today. It feels like everything is good. You just popped on. What does that mean? Oh, that must be a glitch, because I definitely saw the intro. So did you guys hear me up until this point? Or are you guys just not seeing me? Either way, we'll just continue on from here. I will go into the, let me put this one down, and put this one down so you guys can see this one. So with the Bitcoin, you can see it's had some wild price action. We're over here testing the highs. So we're going to see what Bitcoin does. The money flow on the 4 hour is thick. Let's look at the 8 hour. Money flow in the 8 hour is coming up. We look at the 1 hour. The 1 hour is coming out. So will we get a cool down? So I've got my BTC down here, the one I do TA on, and I know that's kind of messy. So what I'm looking for is, I think at least we need to come down and retest this negative point of weekly negative point of control that we broke through. Maybe even come down a little bit lower, because we have a new daily negative point of control over there. Let me swap it over to a different chart And you guys can see that I have these anchor VWAPs here. And we also have a golden pocket 786 here. So we could come down as low in the 114 area. But we don't know when that's going to happen. Money flow is still in the green, but it is coming out. We do have a red dot on the 1 hour. Take a look at the daily real quick. You got a daily green dot, which is kind of stale. So we should be posting a daily red dot really soon. So we'll have to see. I mean, a pullback would be healthy from here, right? If you see, we do have this POC that was formerly over there. You guys can see that. But, and this high volume node in the same area. So if we come back and retest that in the 118s and then go, I mean, there's a lot of things that are, I mean, pointing towards what I think could be a blow off top. But we'll just have to see what plays out. I do have some other trades I wanted to show you guys. I mean, remember that I was in a double trade on Solana, and I did get full TP on both of those. So that's really cool. And then I like to see whenever you hit a TP and then it just kind of hangs out in that area, that means that your TA was right on point. So I'm excited about that. I do have some other trades that are live. I have a Pepe trade that's going on right now. I think the last time we visited, they were in the red. We'll just have to see if I'm going to have to pull out of these on a Bitcoin pullback or if everything is going to be fine. Looks like everybody's fine in the chat, doing good. Let me see here. We've got an Ondo trade that's live, an AVAX trade that's going on, an ADA trade, and an Aero trade. So Aero trade, of course, I don't pick the topics based on if I think it's going to pump or not because I talked about it. Obviously, our audience here is not that big, right? So we're not looking to pump up any tokens or anything like that. I just took a trade on Aero because I thought that the TA looked good. The money flow was crossing into the green. It was at a significant low. And so I took a trade. I think that Aero can get back. If you look here, I'm targeting way up here at 150, which is really close to where it was recently. And I think that it's got the momentum to get back up there. Billy brought my attention to it because he trades Aero in the background. Well, I won't say too much about that, but he brought my attention to it. I'm also in a trade on height. I think that's all of my trades right now. I'm looking at Emmy. I'm not sure if I'm going to get into this. I mean, a slight bull dip there. I would really like to see a higher low. I mean, it's got a slight one there, so I'll make it into Emmy in a little bit. All right, let me see here. Look at all of the people in the chat. I don't see anything going on that is bad, so that's good to me. Let me take this. We'll take off of this one, and we'll put this one back on. All right, and then we'll come back over here. And what I'm going to do now is we'll set up the Aerodrome podcast. See, there's a lot of things. I do want to spend some time maybe at the end showing you some stuff that we looked at. So I will pull up the interactive. Let's see, let me first refresh. I'll share my screen. There we go. I'll share my screen. All right. Screen. Share. All righty. I know you guys can see it. Okay. Now, let's see. You guys can hear it. All right. We are about to get started with the Aerodrome Finance. Again, you guys know how it works. Ask questions. I will start your questions in the chat. And then we'll come back to them. I don't know if I'll ask a whole bunch of questions at the beginning. If you guys have been here for a long time, you know that sometimes that glitches them out and it's hard for them to keep going. And sometimes we have to restart, which is fine. We know that this technology it's evolving. It's getting better as we go. So we definitely have to deal with the bugs along the way. But let's get over here and see. Don't forget to ask your questions. I'll star them in the chat. Aerodrome Finance. I mean, this is going to unlock other questions. Because I listened to the debate. I don't know if you guys, the members of the channel, saw the video that I put out. That was the debate on Aerodrome Finance. And it really got me thinking even more because Base is such, they're doing so much stuff. And it seems like, at least to me, they're doing it quietly. But I'm kind of bullish on Base just hearing them, seeing what they're doing. And that started with the interview with Brian Armstrong and Sean Ryan. That really kind of got my wheels spinning. And then after I heard the debate on Aerodrome Finance, it's really got me thinking about base law. So let's get going. Let's see if you guys can hear it. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear the audio.
Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This is where we take, these complex financial systems, especially in crypto, and to really try to break them down.
Yeah, make them understandable. And today we're looking at something pretty crucial in the layer 2 space.
We're diving into Aerodrome Finance, or Aero. It's become, well, basically the main liquidity hub on Base.
That's right. If you're doing anything on Base, building, trading, whatever, you kind of need to know how Aerodrome works. It's the engine room, really.
It really is. And it's such a fascinating example of using like advanced game theory, all to solve that age-old DeFi problem. How do you get liquidity? And more importantly, how do you make it stick around?
Exactly. So our mission today for the Simple Terms podcast is to unpack all that complexity, make it simple, make it clear what Aerodrome actually does and why it matters.
And we should be really clear about what we're working from today. This is important context.
Yes, absolutely. Aerodrome doesn't have, a traditional white paper put out by the core team. It's pretty common these days, actually.
Right. So our deep dive today is based on the unofficial white paper version 1.0. And this was put together by Dave Digital specifically for the Simple Terms podcast.
It's a consolidation effort. Dave took all the public info code, docs, blog posts, you name it, and used tools like GREG and ChatGPT to help synthesize it all into one place.
Which is pretty cool, actually. It shows the community needed this, right? Needed a clear explanation because the protocol itself, well, it's got layers.
It really does. The mechanics demand that kind of comprehensive guide.
Okay, so before we really get into the nuts and bolts, let's see who's tuning in live, who's in the live chat today. Drop us a line. Oh, wait, someone wants to join. Hey, go for it.
Wow, you guys, that's really cool that you guys asked who's in the live chat today, because we definitely are live right now on YouTube. We do have a live audience, and we have our regulars, as you know, that support the channel all the time. We have Jesse Gluck, we have Mike Volmer, we have Alexander G, we have Crypto Billy, the founder of Billy Goat Tales. We also have Curtis Hill. We have Steve Hickey. We have, let's see, who else do we have here in the chat? Hope I'm not missing anybody. BC Port Corp is feeling a little bit better, and he is in the chat. Did I say Curtis Hill? Yeah, I think I did. Mike Volmer, BC Port Corp again. Let me see here. I don't think Steve Hickey, Jesse. I think I got everybody in there. All Set Miner is here also. Those are all our friends, and I think Keith from Crypto Coin Mindset is also in the chat. So say good morning to them. Please, let's get into this Aerodrome Finance. We're really excited. Take us down this hole, so that this rabbit hole, so that we can understand everything. And good morning.
Wow. Thank you so much for that introduction.
That's fantastic. We have the whole crew here.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in live.
And a special shout out to Crypto Billy.
Yeah, the founder of Billy Goat Tales. Hello.
We really appreciate all that support.
And thanks for the energy, too. We are ready to jump down this rabbit hole with you.
Absolutely. We're excited to unpack Aerodrome.
Yeah, so we asked you to drop a line, but now we know you're all here.
Yeah, definitely interact, ask questions as we go.
We want to make sure we're hitting what you're curious about.
And remember, you're listening to the Simple Terms podcast.
Tune in every week, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right here on the Billy Tales YouTube channel.
And hey, while you're thinking about it, make sure you're following at Dave Digital on X.
And at Billy Go Tales, that's on X and here on YouTube too.
All right, let's jump in. Economics first.
Let's do it.
Okay, so every good project solves a real problem.
Right.
What was the big headache in the L2 world, specifically on Base, that Aerodrome was built?
Oh, go for it.
Well, before we get started, I wanted you to say hi to everybody in chat. Did you remember who I told you was here?
Oh, we absolutely remember.
We're so glad the whole community's here.
Jesse, Mike, Alexander G, Crypto Billy.
Courtesy Steve Hickey, BC Court, and All Set Miner.
And Keith from Crypto Coin Mindset.
It's fantastic to have all the regulars supporting the channel.
It gives us a great boost of energy.
Knowing we're digging into this complex system together.
And we really appreciate you listing them out.
That's right. It just confirms we're live and kicking.
But yes, let's now jump right into the Aerodrome analysis.
We were just asking what problem Aerodrome was built to fix.
Right. What was the big headache on L2?
Aerodrome was built to fix.
Well, there were really two big connected issues.
Yeah.
First, just liquidity fragmentation.
Think about it. A new chain launches, assets pop up everywhere.
on lots of different small exchanges.
Right, so your liquidity is spread thin.
If you want to make a decent sized trade, the price moves against you.
That's slippage, high slippage, bad user experience.
Exactly. But the second problem, maybe even sneakier, was what people call mercenary incentives.
Okay, mercenary capital. Unpack that.
It refers to liquidity providers, LPs, who are only in it for the short term,
They see a protocol offering really high rewards.
usually in the protocol's own token.
Yeah, those emission rewards.
Right. So they jump in, farm those tokens, dump them on the market immediately for profit.
And then they move on to the next farm. They don't care about the protocol itself.
So the very token of the protocol is using to try and build liquidity are just getting sold off.
Creating sell pressure, and the liquidity doesn't actually stick around.
Yeah, that sounds really unsustainable. It bleeds protocols dry.
So Aerodrome's goal was basically to fight that
To become the central place for liquidity on base.
by creating a transparent market for those emissions.
Make protocols compete for liquidity in a smarter way.
Okay, so the document calls Aerodrome a next-gen AMM, an automated market maker on base.
Which is an OP stack L2.
But like you said, it sounds like more than just a place to swap tokens,
Oh, much more. It builds on the veAERO V2 design.
which was already successful on Optimism.
And the core engine, the really critical piece to understand, is the Fink incentive model.
Okay, let's unpack this.
It's rooted in game theory, isn't it? Like the prisoner's dilemma.
Precisely, you've got it.
In the classic prisoner's dilemma, the best outcome happens if they cooperate.
That's the great Formula 3. If they both defect, act selfishly, they both get a bad outcome.
VA3 Core 3 uses the token rules to make cooperation the rational economic choice.
How does Aerodrome actually do that?
By making you commit, users have to lock the Aero token.
When you lock it, you meant something called veAERO.
That's vote escrowed Aero.
And by locking, you get power.
You get the right to vote on where the weekly Aero emissions go.
Plus, you earn trading fees from the platform and potentially bribes.
Bribes. We'll get to that. Absolutely.
But the core idea is lock long-term, cooperate with the system.
And you get rewarded multiple ways.
Exactly. If you just hold Aero and sell it, you get diluted by the ongoing emission.
And you miss out on all the voting power, the fees, the bribes.
It rewards the long view, punishes the short-term flip.
So high level, lock Aero, you get this veAERO NFT, which gives you voting power.
And the voters collectively decide which liquidity pools get the Aero rewards each week.
Yeah, it basically turns liquidity provision into a democratic, market-driven process.
Well, maybe like a political campaign, protocols campaign for votes. Oh, go for it.
Great, great, great. Hey, so I already have one question, but I also want to say hi to a few more people that have joined us in chat. We have Castiel and we have Curtis Hill. Earlier you said his name was Courtesy, but it's Curtis Hill. We have Buck, we have Andy, and we have Joe from Trade Intuition. And I would like you to tell Joe thank you for showing me how to use napkins over my lights, because I think that's a wonderful idea and it's working great for me. And then after you say hi to those people, I have a question. You said a OP stack L2, and I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, that's fantastic. More people in the chat.
Welcome, Castiel. And great to have you, Curtis Hill. Thanks for the question.
And Buck, Andy, and Joe from Trade Intuition, welcome.
Hey, Joe, we definitely pass on that. Thanks for the lighting tip.
The napkin lighting trick is genius, actually. We fully approve.
Very resourceful. We love it.
And we really appreciate you bringing your curiosity today.
That's a super fair question about OP Stack L2.
We mentioned that base, where Aerodrome lives, is an OP stack L2.
Okay, let's unpack this quickly.
L2 just means layer 2.
Think of it as a separate highway built on top of the main, slow, expensive highway, which is Ethereum, the layer 1.
Its job is to process transactions much faster and cheaper.
But still use Ethereum for security and final settlement.
Now, the OP stack part, that's a reference to Optimism.
Optimism is one of the biggest and most successful layer 2 networks out there.
The OP stack is essentially a standardized open source template.
A framework that lets anyone launch their own L2, kind of like a pre-built house kit.
Base, which is the network built by Coinbase, chose to use this OP stack framework.
So when we say OPStack L2, it just means Base is a layer 2 network that uses Optimism's architecture.
It gives Base a head start, inheriting battle-tested code and tools.
And Aerodrome is deployed right on that Base network, leveraging its speed and low cost.
That's the ecosystem Aerodrome is trying to become the liquidity center for.
Great question. Now let's get back to the Aerodrome governance.
We were talking about protocols campaigning for votes.
That governance layer is key. Now let's get into the machinery it controls.
The pools themselves. Aerodrome uses 3 different types.
Why not just one? It's all about capital efficiency.
Different assets behave differently, right?
You don't want to use the same mechanism to trade Bitcoin against Ether.
As you do for trading USDC against DAI.
Makes sense. So let's start simple. Volatile pools.
These are your standard pools like Uniswap V2 style.
They use a constant product formula.
Good for pairs where the prices aren't correlated like eThereum.
The liquidity is spread out across all possible prices. Got it.
Then you have stable pools.
Right. Designed specifically for assets that should trade very close to each other.
Main use case is stablecoins like USDC DAI or liquid staking tokens.
The math behind them is different. The curve is much, much flatter around the target price.
This means you can swap huge amounts with almost zero slippage near the peg.
Okay, and then the really interesting one, the newer edition, Slipstream pools.
This brought Uniswap V3 style concentrated liquidity into Aerodrome.
That was a huge deal. It really changes the game for LPs.
Let's break it down. In a standard V2 pool, liquidity is spread thinly.
Right, most of it isn't actually doing anything at the current price.
With Slipstream, LPs choose a specific narrow price range.
So within that band, their capital's working much, much harder.
Higher capital efficiency, meaning they earn way more fees on their money.
But there's a catch. What happens if the price moves outside that range?
Then the capital basically becomes inactive and it stops earning fees entirely.
And you're left holding the asset that dropped in price.
So LPs swap impermanent loss risk for range risk in Slipstream.
It requires more active management and attention.
But the genius part is how Aerodrome integrated this.
Whether it's V2 stable or Slipstream, it still needs veAERO votes to get rewards.
The incentive layer sits on top of all pool types.
And the router ties it all together, precisely,
When you make a trade, it looks across all the pools.
and finds the best path for the lowest slippage.
It leverages all the available liquidity efficiently. Okay, that makes sense.
Now let's talk about the money flow, the incentives.
We need to dive into gauges, bribes, and fees.
Let's start with gauges. They are simple conceptually.
They're just the destinations for the Aero emissions.
Each liquidity pool has a corresponding gauge.
When veAERO holders vote, they're really voting for that pool's gauge to get a share of Aero.
So the votes determine the emission flow.
And that brings us to the bribes, where the market dynamic gets really interesting.
Yeah, bribes are external incentives.
A protocol wanting deep liquidity for its token can offer a bribe
Who do they pay the bribe to?
directly to the veAERO voters.
They might offer, say, $5,000 in USDC to anyone who votes for their pool that week.
Why is this better than the protocol just giving its own tokens directly to LPs?
Great question. It's about efficiency and predictability.
When a protocol admits its own token, it's volatile, and LPs often just dump it.
Right. It creates sell pressure and is dilutive.
With a bribe, the cost is fixed and known.
We paid $5,000 for X amount of Aero emissions directed to our pool.
It's measurable, and they're paying the locked, aligned participants.
And those Aero emissions, attracted by the bribe, create the actual liquidity depth
It's more targeted, less wasteful, and leads to stickier liquidity.
because the whole system rewards long-term locking.
Okay, that's bribes. And the third pillar is fees. Where did fees go?
This is crucial for the voters. 100% of the trading fees generated across the entire platform.
Go to the veAERO voters, distributed.
Oh, back to our listener. What's up?
Yeah, thank you guys for going where you've gone so far. Please keep your place and make sure that we continue to go on. I don't want any glitches today. I want us to make it fully through everything that we have prepared. But we have a question from one of our audience members and a fellow creator, BC Portcorp, who's on the Army Piper network. He says, so LPs, slipstreams can be absolutely destroyed by a move outside of the acceptable margins.
That is a phenomenal question from BC Court.
And thank you for the feedback. We are locked in.
We hear ya. No glitches today. We're going to get through this entire deep dive.
Now on the BC Court's question about Slipstream LPs.
He's absolutely right to flag that risk.
We briefly touched on it, but it deserves a deeper look.
Yes, the term for that risk is called range risk.
With the concentrated liquidity of Slipstream, you pick a narrow price range.
You're maximizing your capital's efficiency within that range.
But if the asset price moves entirely outside your chosen band,
Your liquidity position is converted 100% into the less valuable asset.
and you stop earning trading fees entirely.
You are left holding a bag of the asset that just dropped in price.
So yes, the capital can become destroyed or at least totally inactive and impaired.
This is why Slipstream requires active management and attention.
It's the trade-off for that huge increase in potential fee income.
LPs have to constantly assess volatility and rebalance their ranges.
If they don't, they suffer that significant active management risk.
This is a core risk we will revisit later in our risk section.
Excellent question, BC Core. Thanks for chiming in.
Now, where were we?
We were just about to finish up the third pillar of incentives, fees.
Right, we were saying 100% of trading fees go to the voters.
The veAERO voters distributed based on their voting power.
So LPs earn swap fees and maybe Aero emissions.
Right, if their pool has a gauge that gets votes.
But the veAERO voters, the governors, capture the overall platform revenue.
This fee income helps offset the inflation from the ongoing Aero emission.
It makes locking Aero sustainable for those long-term participants.
Okay, so putting it all together, protocols use bribes to buy liquidity efficiently.
Emissions flow to the pools that voters deem most valuable.
And the long-term lockers get rewarded with those fees and bribes to close loop.
That's the intended flywheel, yes. Rewarding commitment effectively.
Let's zoom in on the tokens themselves now. The foundation is the Aero token.
Right. Aero, your standard ERC20 token, is the fuel.
Its main job is to be locked up to create veAERO.
And we have to stress again, there's no fixed maximum supply for Aero.
Correct. Supply increases every week through those emissions we just talked about.
If you just hold liquid Aero, you're getting diluted over time.
So the inflation is a feature. It pushes you to participate, to lock.
Precisely. Locking your Aero is how you protect yourself from inflation.
Which brings us to veAERO. It's an NFT, not just a regular token balance.
Yeah, that's a key difference. Each lock is unique and transferable.
How does minting one work? You choose how much Aero to lock and for how long.
The maximum lock period is about 4 years. 4 years is a long time in crypto.
And the longer you lock, the more initial voting power it gets.
But that power decays linearly over time unless you relock.
If you lock for 4 years, after 2 years, your power is halved.
As it gets closer to unlocking, your power approaches 0.
Wow. Okay, so it constantly diminishes unless you periodically relock your aeuro.
Right. You must periodically extend the locked duration back out to maintain power.
So the system structurally favors those who are willing to continuously recommit.
Maximum commitment equals maximum sustained influence and rewards.
And because it's an NFT, you could theoretically sell your locked position to someone else.
Yes, veAERO NFTs are transferable. The buyer gets the remaining power.
The buyer gets the remaining lock duration and the corresponding decayed voting power.
Okay. And this whole voting and reward process happens on a regular stingle.
Yep, it runs in weekly cycles called epochs. Walk us through a typical epoch.
Okay, so during the hey, yeah, what's up?
Yeah, interrupting one more time. So I had a question because I didn't really understand what you were saying about bribes and going back and forth. There was some terminology in there that I didn't quite understand, but I was going to hold that question. But then I saw Crypto Billy in the chat. He also said legalize bribes. Amazing. And then he had a laugh emoji. And then BC Pork Corp said, Crypto Billy, it sounds a lot like lobbying. Do you want to address this?
Oh, that's a perfect time to jump in.
And what a great question to bring up.
Hello again, Crypto Billy and BC Court.
That comparison to lobbying is really insightful.
And we absolutely need to clarify the bribes mechanism.
We use the term bribes because that's what the Varti Design calls them.
But maybe it's less like a back alley deal and more like subsidized advertising.
Think of it this way. What is a protocol really buying?
They're buying the right to attract Aero emissions to their liquidity pool.
They need those emissions because those emissions pay the LPs.
Those LPs bring the deep liquidity, which is what the protocol actually wants.
So a bribe is the cost of acquiring that specific vote-directed attention.
Now, the lobbying analogy is spot on, BC Court.
In traditional politics, lobbying is paying money to influence legislative action.
Here, protocols pay an incentive, the bribe, to influence the governance action.
The governance action is the veAERO vote that allocates the Aero emissions.
The emissions are the value being directed.
The money paid in bribes goes directly to the voters who direct that value.
It's a transparent, market-based system for buying influence over the emission flow.
It's legalized because it's built into the smart contract.
Every voter can see the bribes offered to every pool gauge before they vote.
So it turns the allocation of liquidity into a quantifiable open market.
That's the terminology. Bribe equals incentive paid to the veAERO voter.
Gauge equals the pool receiving the Aero emissions from the voters.
This clarity is what makes it, well, amazing in an economic sense.
It makes the cost of acquiring liquidity measurable and efficient for protocols.
Excellent points from the chat. Now let's pick up on the governance cycle.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
I definitely am cautious about getting you guys off track. I definitely don't want any glitches. I want you guys to cover everything completely today. But there's a couple questions, not really questions, but I can see some sentiment in the chat. Buck said that he learned the hard way and it could be expensive to learn. I think they're talking about the liquidation part or the part where you use the lower asset on Aerodrome. Can you offer them maybe a theory or a strategy that would defend against them getting liquidated?
That is a completely fair concern.
And we really appreciate you keeping us on track.
No glitches today, we promise.
That sentiment about learning the hard way is common.
It sounds like they are talking about the risks of Slipstream,
Specifically, that range risk we discussed earlier,
where a price moves outside your chosen range.
which leaves you entirely in the less valuable asset.
That's the part that can be very expensive.
Liquidation isn't exactly the right term here.
But the economic effect, total loss of active capital, is similar.
So, how do LPs defend against that?
The theory is all about minimizing that risk through strategy.
The document suggests a laddered lock for Aero, but for LPs, it's laddered ranges.
Right, instead of one very narrow, high-risk range.
An LP might set up multiple positions across several ranges,
For example, a tight range for high fee earning.
and a much wider range that acts as a kind of safety net.
That wider range won't be as capital efficient.
But it ensures your capital doesn't entirely become idle.
You're still earning some fees even during volatility.
Another critical strategy is being prepared to rebalance often
This means actively watching the market price.
and moving your range before the price fully escapes it,
That's where you incur gas costs, though,
which is why you need to weigh the potential fee earnings.
against the cost of rebalancing on the L2 network.
So the strategy is careful range selection and active management.
It requires attention, not just a set and forget mindset.
This is a great transition back to the governance cycle.
The incentives have to be strong enough to reward that active management.
Absolutely. Let's return to the epoch cycle.
Yep, the epochs, we were walking through a typical epoch.
Okay, so during the week, the Aero holders assign their voting power to the pool gauges.
At the end of the week, a snapshot is taken of those
A
votes.
snapshot of the votes, right?
Then the new batch of Aero emissions for the week is calculated.
And distributed to the gauges according to those votes.
And finally, the voters can then go and claim their rewards for that past week.
Their share of the trading fees and any bribes paid to the pools they voted for.
And then the cycle repeats, a constant weekly pulse for Base's liquidity market.
Let's talk about managing those emissions. Controlling token supply is tricky.
Aerodrome has this multi-phase approach called the Aero FED,
Yeah, the name is evocative. It's their programmed monetary policy.
designed to move from an aggressive launch phase to sustainable governance.
How did it start? It kicked off with a high initial emission rate.
10 million Aero per week.
Phase one was called takeoff, and emissions actually increased.
Correct. For the first 14 epochs, they increased by 3% per epoch.
Wow, increasing inflation. Why do that?
It was a deliberate strategy to bootstrap the protocol extremely quickly
To attract a massive amount of liquidity right out of the gate.
and establish Aerodrome as the place to trade on Base almost immediately.
So front load the inflation to jumpstart the network effect. Makes sense.
After those first 14 weeks, it flipped into phase 2, cruise,
In this phase, the emissions started decreasing by 1% per epoch,
putting on the brakes gently, a glide path towards lower inflation.
winding down those aggressive launch incentives.
And the final stage is phase 3, Aero FED activation.
This phase kicks in when the weekly emissions drop below roughly 9 million Aero.
And at that point, the veAERO voters themselves gain the ability to influence the emission rate.
They essentially take over monetary policy from the pre-programmed schedule.
Can they just crank it up or down massively?
No, and this is a really clever bit of design.
The control they get is very fine-grained.
They can vote to adjust the weekly emission rate by only plus or minus 0.01%.
Tiny increments, that's minuscule.
Why such a small adjustment capability?
It forces slow, deliberate, consensus-driven changes.
Preventing a small group from suddenly manipulating the inflation rate.
To make any meaningful change requires sustained agreement.
So it makes monetary policy changes gradual and highly visible,
They have to constantly balance the need for sufficient emissions for liquidity.
against the risk of excessive inflation that devalues the token.
It's a delicate balancing act, managed essentially.
And it seems like the structure paid off pretty quickly.
Let's talk about the launch success. How was the initial supply of 500 million Aero handled?
The vast majority, something like 450 million Aero, was auto-locked as veAERO at launch.
Wow, 90%. Why lock up so much immediately?
Stability. It prevented a huge initial dump of tokens onto the market,
It showed commitment from the core stakeholders and ensured governance power was locked.
signaling long-term alignment. Only about 50 million Aero was liquid initially.
And they also used an airdrop cleverly, targeting specific users.
40% of the initial supply was airdropped as locked veAERO.
Max locked for 4 years, specifically to people already locking Velo on Velodrome.
So they imported an experienced user base who understood the VO model.
Exactly. Brought in voters who knew the game.
And some initial max locked veAERO was designated for funding public goods on Base.
That voting power directed emissions towards essential pairs and ecosystem growth.
It tied Aerodrome's success directly to the health of the underlying chain.
Okay, so how did the market react? Launch was August 2023.
It was explosive. The total value locked, or TVL, just rocketed.
It went from basically zero to over $170 million within just 3 days.
The $170 million in 72 hours. That's serious traction.
Shows that takeoff phase really worked. It pulled in foundational liquidity incredibly fast.
And that growth wasn't just a flash in the pan, or what happened later into 2024.
By October 2024, Aerodrome had crossed $1 billion in deposits,
They captured the dominant share of all DEX volume and liquidity on Base.
achieving that goal of becoming the central hub.
And deploying Slipstream helped solidify that position.
No doubt. Adding concentrated liquidity meant they could offer much better prices for traders.
Let's try and crystallize the game theory analysis here.
The whole system seems designed to funnel value effectively,
Use the votes driven by those market bribes to direct Aero emissions.
specifically to the most active pools, where they generate the most activity and high fees.
It avoids scattering rewards inefficiently.
And the bribe mechanism fights that mercenary behavior we discussed earlier.
Yeah, because protocols pay the voters, the locked participants, for the emissions.
Rather than just spraying their own tokens at transient LPs.
It's a more direct, measurable way to acquire liquidity.
And for the veAERO holders, the constant stream of trading fees is the payoff.
Exactly. It offsets the inflation and rewards participation in governments.
It creates that positive feedback loop for long-term alignment.
Okay, it sounds impressive, but nothing's perfect.
We have to cover the operational considerations risks. What are the potential downsides?
Well, starting with security, the code is heavily based on Velodrome v2.
These code bases have been audited multiple times, battle tested to some extent.
So it inherits security confidence from its predecessors.
But it lives on base in OP Stack L2.
So Aerodrome is subject to all the underlying assumptions and risks of Base.
Sequencer uptime, bridge security, and L1 settlement.
If Base has problems, Aerodrome has problems. Layer dependencies.
What about risks within the Aerodrome system itself? Governance capture is a potential issue.
If one entity accumulates a huge amount of veAERO voting power, they could dominate the vote.
Directing the vast majority of Aero emissions towards pools that benefit them most.
And the transparent bribe market could actually make this power more attractive to capture.
Potentially, yes. If protocols pay large bribes, controlling veAERO is lucrative.
What about just regular market risks for users?
Yeah, LPs still face impermanent loss in the volatile pools.
And traders are always subject to MEV, like sandwich attacks. That's common across DeFi.
And for the LPs using the Slipstream pools, we've covered the range risk.
Yes, that range risk is significant if they can't rebalance quickly. Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, I hate to interrupt again, but I do appreciate where you guys have brought us so far. Definitely keep your place so we don't get lost. But I had a couple questions, and I wanted to say hi also to Crypto Princess who joined the chat. She was driving, so I want her to stay safe. And Orphan that joined the chat. I want to say hi to Orphan. But you mentioned something about the Fed and the monetary policy inside of Aerodrome. So can you tell me about that? Is that like a Chairman Powell and the voters are controlling Chair Powell? I don't understand that.
Welcome to Crypto Princess and Orphan.
Thanks for joining us live in the chat.
Crypto Princess, please do stay safe while driving.
And Orphan, we appreciate you tuning in.
And thank you for keeping us on track.
We hear you loud and clear, no glitches.
The question about the Aero FED is fantastic.
We called it their programmed monetary policy earlier.
And your comparison to Chairman Powell is actually quite apt.
Think of the Aero token as the currency of Base's liquidity.
The problem with currency is managing inflation.
In the traditional world, the Federal Reserve, led by its chair, manages that.
They raise or lower interest rates to balance the economy.
In Aerodrome, the Aero FED is the mechanism for regulating the supply of Aero,
It controls how many new Aero tokens are emitted each week.
which is their form of inflation control.
Unlike the actual Fed, Aerodrome started with a preset schedule.
It had the aggressive takeoff phase of increasing emissions.
Then the cruise phase, where emissions were steadily decreasing by 1%.
The Aero FED activation phase is when the voters take over.
When the emissions drop below a certain point, the veAERO holders gain a lever.
They become the collective Chairman Powell of Aerodrome.
But with extremely limited power, they can only adjust the rate by tiny steps.
Just plus or minus 0.01% per week. This tiny increment is the key difference from a centralized Fed.
It ensures that any change to the monetary policy is slow, deliberate, and consensus-driven.
So the veAERO voters collectively become the decentralized monetary authority.
They're trying to find that perfect sweet spot.
Enough emissions to attract deep, sticky liquidity.
But not so much that it causes excessive inflation and devalues the Aero token. It's a system designed to be responsive, but only glacially slow.
Great question. Now let's circle back to the risks we were discussing.
We were just touching on how that slipstream range risk can be really significant.
If the price moves outside their concentrated range, their capital becomes idle.
They might suffer a significant loss. Active management risk is key there.
And finally, protocol risks. The rules of the game themselves could change.
Absolutely. The veAERO holders, the new decentralized Fed, could vote to change emission parameters or how fees are routed.
Any such change could impact returns for different participants. That's decentralized governance.
Okay, given those inherent risks, the sources provide some practical tips for people who want to get involved.
What's the advice on locking Aero? Max lock for 4 years seems risky given the decay.
The recommendation is often a laddered lock strategy.
Instead of putting all your Aero into one 4-year lock, you might break it up.
Lock some for 4 years, some for 2, some for 1. Why ladder it?
It gives you a balance. You maintain a high average voting power with long locks.
But you also have shorter locks expiring periodically, giving you flexibility.
Manages the decay and flexibility trade-off. That makes sense.
What about LPs, especially for Slipstream, which BC Court asked about?
For Slipstream, you need an active strategy, period.
As we mentioned before, you have to decide on your range based on expected volatility.
Narrow range means higher potential fees, but more risk of the price moving out.
Wider range is safer.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
That is another great clarifying question.
And thanks again for the updates on the chat.
Hello again to
Sorry, I
Crypto
was muted
Princess
because
and
my
Orphan.
dog is.
And yes, we are absolutely avoiding glitches
snoring.
today.
The comparison between Slipstream
Here's
and
the
a grid
question.
bot is useful.
They share that core concept of range.
A grid bot automatically sets orders at intervals around a price.
It profits by automatically buying low and selling high within that grid.
And if the price leaves the grid, the bot stops trading.
Slipstream, however, is a liquidity provision tool, not an automated trading tool.
It's about supplying capital, not executing arbitrage trades.
But the if it goes out of range, it stops part is exactly right.
When the price moves outside the LP's chosen range in Slipstream,
The position becomes completely converted into a single asset.
and it essentially stops being an active liquidity provider.
So it stops earning trading fees completely.
The LP must manually rebalance or wait for the price to return.
So while the mechanics are different, the economic effect of leaving the range is very similar.
In both cases, the capital becomes idle or inactive.
We mentioned before that LPs can use strategies like laddered ranges.
That's essentially like setting up multiple overlapping grids manually.
It's not automated like a bot, but it uses the same theoretical defense.
That helps defend against sudden moves outside one single tight range.
So it's similar in concept, but requires manual attention.
Okay, that Oh, yeah,
Man, that's awesome clarification. Thank you very much. Now, we also had Vegas Claw join the chat, and we also had Redman, who's part of the Billy Go Tells team, who has been creating some amazing shorts for our team and for the community. Both of those folks have joined the chat. But I also want to bring up something else that may have alarmed some of the people in chat as it did me. You said that Aero creates an NFT whenever you lock it up or if you stake it. I'm not sure how you mentioned that. That sets alarms off in my head because NFTs are known for their, let's just say, lack of security.
That is a phenomenal question.
Welcome, Vegas Slaw and Redmond.
Great to have Redmond here, who is creating those amazing shorts.
Thanks for the clarification and the great new chat members.
No, your concern about the security of veAERO as an NFT is totally valid.
You hear NFT and you often think of profile pictures and maybe some related security issues.
But the veAERO NFT is very different from that.
It's an ERC 721 token, yes, but it doesn't represent an image or a collectible.
It represents a smart contract position.
Specifically, it represents the time-locked Aero tokens and the associated voting power.
It's basically a digital receipt for your locked capital.
The security risk isn't in the NFT itself being insecure.
The risk is primarily in securing your private key,
If someone gets access to your wallet, they can transfer the veAERO NFT.
which means they steal your locked ERO and your voting power.
It's the same risk as losing any token, but with the added layer that the asset is illiquid.
The security of the protocol is separate, tied to the audited smart contract.
So think of it less as a typical NFT and more as a tokenized vesting contract.
We mentioned earlier that this NFT is transferable.
That's the main function of making it an NFT.
You can sell the right to the remaining lock time and voting power.
This gives the locked position a secondary market value.
It allows participants to exit their long-term commitment if needed.
So it's a security risk in the sense of private key management.
But the NFT structure provides flexibility, which is the whole point.
It's designed to lock a value, not to be a volatile collectible.
Hopefully that addresses why it's structured this way.
Okay, that clarifies the NFT structure and security.
Now back to our LPs and their strategy. Yep, go on.
Yeah, thank you. Please stay on chat. But I just wanted you to let Vegas Claw know that he's the type of guy that lets Frankie Candles know that he's that type of guy.
We hear you. No glitches today.
And we really appreciate you keeping the conversation flowing.
And that's a great shout out to Vegas Claw.
It sounds like he's the one who's always leading the discussion.
The one setting the tone, the topic guy. We love that.
Exactly. Having active participants like Vegas Claw is what makes the live chat great.
So welcome again, Vegas Claw and Redmond.
Now back to our LPs and their strategy calculus.
We were talking about the trade-off of risk versus return, especially in Slipstream.
Yes, wider range is safer, less management, as we explained the BC court earlier,
You have to constantly assess that volatility trade-off.
and factor in gas costs for rebalancing too, even on an L2-like base.
Definitely. Frequent rebalancing still adds up to a cost.
And finally, there's the bribe calculus. This affects both protocols paying and voters.
For a protocol, it's, yeah,
You're doing so good staying on track, and I'm definitely putting you to the test today. But Vegas Claw just replied to you. He said, "Grazie, chicos."
Grazie, Chicos, right back at you, Vegas Claw.
We appreciate the energy and the kind words.
And thank you for putting us to the test.
Your questions and the chat interactions are exactly what makes this a deep dive.
No glitches and staying on track. That's the goal.
Now let's nail this final calculation part.
For a protocol, it's, is the bribe cost generating enough liquidity and volume?
For a voter, it's which pool offers the best fees miss bribe yield on my voting power.
As we discussed earlier, this is lobbying built into the code.
This market force should drive real economic efficiency here.
It creates a quantifiable cost for acquiring liquidity.
But yes, you still need to do your homework to maximize returns.
All right, we have covered a ton of ground today.
Thanks to all of you for the excellent questions and input.
Now that we have covered everything, let's bring it all together.
What's the big picture?
Few things start. I had to
Oh,
unmute
perfect
myself.
timing. What's the last question?
Yeah, please bring it up before we wrap up.
We want to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
So let me see here. So Orphan said the solution is just to be good at trading. Crypto Billy said, sounds like a good job for an AI agent. Curtis Hill said, so they choose to sell more before the drop. Still sounds criminal. Let's see, what else do we have? And then BC Port Corp said, I mean, it could be, Billy, as long as you have a powerful enough AI to keep track of all the different factors. It also has to operate quickly enough, so you need an AI agent running on C+ or C++.
Wow, that's a whole thread of fantastic commentary from the chat.
A great way to wrap up. We've got Orphan, Crypto Billy, Curtis Hill, and BC Court all chiming in.
Let's address Curtis Hill's point first.
That strong statement about selling more before the drop still sounds criminal.
That's definitely talking about that range risk we covered.
It's important to clarify LPs and Slipstream don't choose to sell more.
The smart contract automatically converts their capital.
When the price leaves the range, their liquidity is automatically converted into the less valuable single asset.
They're left holding the depreciated asset, not actively selling it off.
The loss is passive, the result of the mechanism.
It's not criminal, but it is certainly painful and expensive, as someone in the chat pointed out earlier.
Okay, now for the other fantastic part of the discussion. AI.
Crypto Billy suggesting an AI agent for this job is insightful.
MBC Court jumping in with a technical requirement, C++ speed.
It connects right back to Orphan's comment. The solution is just to be good at trading.
Aerodrome's complexities, especially Slipstream and the bribe calculus, demand that expertise.
It's too much for the average person to track manually.
You need to monitor volatility, fee yields, bribe offers, and rebalance gas costs.
This is why an AI agent is actually a very rational solution.
It's designed to automate that good trading requirement
A powerful enough AI could quickly analyze all the factors.
and execute the necessary rebalancing and voting decisions instantly.
That C++ speed BC Court mentioned is crucial for reacting to market changes on base.
It shows the complexity of Aerodrome is actually creating a new niche.
A need for automated, sophisticated capital management tools.
It's proof the game theory working as intended.
It drives out the casual participant and favors the highly sophisticated.
Either the good trader or the powerful AI agents.
Excellent final point from the community. Oh, go for it.
Yeah, we also had K Diddity, used to be K Diggity, now it's K Diddity, join into the chat. And we had a new joiner into the chat, Chad Jeeks. And then we had just a couple more comments that I wanted to point out to you guys. We had Crypto Billy say that Dave appreciates Vegas Claw for Frankie's appreciation for appreciating his members. That was like a tongue twister. That's got a buddy. And then Vegas Claw said Dave Digital is the type of guy to make water jump out of the shower. So we're definitely having a good time over here. I want you to address those and then continue where you left off.
Welcome to K Diggity, or now K Diggity and Chat Geeks.
We are thrilled to have you both join this final stretch.
And thank you for reading those fantastic comments.
That whole thread about Frankie and Vegas Claw, that's community building right there.
And Vegas Claw, that comment about me being the topic of God, wow.
You're definitely setting a high bar for our content delivery.
We really appreciate that energy and that support.
We're having a great time too, thanks to all of you.
We want to make sure we hit everything before we sign off.
We appreciate that no glitch policy you mentioned all morning.
So now let's bring the entire discussion together.
What's the big picture takeaway on Aerodrome Finance?
The core takeaway, and they successfully refined the VETHA model for base.
It created this deeply integrated system we've unpacked today,
With vote-directed emissions, bribes, fee sharing, and multiple AMM types.
all working together to anchor deep, stable liquidity on base,
It makes long-term commitment the most rational economic choice, remember?
while making short-term mercenary behavior unprofitable.
The initial launch strategy, that takeoff phase, worked brilliantly.
That $170 million spike in 3 days was crucial for establishing dominance.
It suggests the core game theory really resonated with users.
But now we are entering the most interesting, perhaps critical phase.
We talked about that Chairman Powell analogy earlier.
The Aero FED mechanism is activating, or will be soon,
This puts that minuscule plus or minus 0.01% control over emissions.
into the hands of the veAERO holders, the voters.
These voters collectively become the decentralized monetary authority.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought.
Aerodrome is now a live experiment testing a fundamental DeFi question.
Can a truly decentralized community, guided by economic self-interest,
Effectively manage something as complex as monetary policy? Can they maintain the delicate balance between inflation and token value without defaulting to simple rules or centralized top-down control? That really is the billion-dollar question for the VIS model. The thesis is betting the answer is yes. We'll have to watch this closely. We hope we've managed to simplify. Oh, go for it.
You absolutely have managed to simplify. You've done a great job staying on track today with all of the interruptions. I'm really proud of all the updates that you guys have done in the background. That's awesome. Here's a test. I want you to remember everybody that has been in the chat, and I want you to say something funny to each one of them individually as you say goodbye. And then remember to say goodbye, of course, and wrap it up as the Simple Terms podcast with Dave Digital. That's _@ Dave or @ Dave Digital on X. And we are on the Billy Goat Tales Network. Can you do that?
Wow, that is a fantastic challenge.
That's the ultimate test of the live show memory.
And thank you for that incredible compliment.
We are absolutely thrilled that we kept it glitch-free.
We'll simplify the goodbye process, but we accept the memory challenge.
Okay, let's start rolling through the names we remember.
Jesse, we hope your portfolio is less volatile than our discussion.
Mike Fulmer, don't let those bribes make you locked for 4 years.
Alexander G, keep thinking big picture on that OP stack.
Crypto Billy, you're officially the founder of the Legalized Bribes Club.
Courtesy Curtis Hill, we promise not to mispronounce any more names.
Steve Hickey, really this deep dive feel like a run outside your comfort zone.
BC Court, don't forget to set those laddered ranges for your lights.
All set miner, we hope your mining is more lucrative than our fee capture.
Keith from Crypto Coin Mindset, we appreciate your thoughtful insights.
Castile, we hope you didn't need any angelic intervention to understand this.
Bach, Andy, and Joe from Trade Intuition, keep sending those napkin lighting tips.
Crypto Princess, drive safe and don't try to rebalance your car mid-road.
Orphan, the solution is indeed to be good at trading or just build an AI.
Vegas Claw, you are the topic guy who makes the water jump out of the shower.
Redmond, thank you for making those amazing shorts.
Kate Dignity and Chat Geeks, welcome to the complexity.
Okay, that was everyone, we think.
We did it. That was a memory test.
And we absolutely managed to simplify Aerodrome's mechanics today.
Using that unofficial white paper synthesis as our guide.
Hopefully you feel you understand this Keybase piece much better now.
We certainly hope so. Thanks for tuning into this deep dive.
And yeah, keep those questions and comments coming even on replay.
And please remember to follow at Dave Digital on X.
And also at Billy Go Tales on X and right here on YouTube.
Don't forget the Simple Terms podcast deep dives happen every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. EST.
here on the Billy Goat Tales YouTube channel.
And you can also catch the Billy Goat Tales crew for their live X Space on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. EST.
And their weekly YouTube live stream on Sundays at 5 p.m. EST.
Absolutely. Keep learning, Addie curious, and keep diving deep into how this works.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Wow, guys. I think that these guys are getting better and better as time goes on. It's exciting to be a part of it. It's fun to get to come in here and learn with you guys. It's really cool. It's fun cutting up in the chat. All this stuff is really amazing. So I do appreciate you guys being here. Let's go ahead just real quick while we're still here. I think we can just check in on the Bitcoin. I could just do that just like this. Get myself out of the way. Let me see. We'll look at Aerodrome. Aero just did a little bit of pullback, looks like. And maybe it's gonna go up from here, but let's check in on the BTC. BTC is just hanging out. Let's see here. Go back to 1 hour. Yeah, it's weekend. We're just going sideways. All the alts are just going nowhere. Do we have any movers? Not really. Oh, there's one. Soros. I don't like that coin. It's super scammy. All right, I think that's all that we've got for today. Let me remove that. Put me back up there. Bam. Bam. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all you being here. Crypto Billy, Jesse, Redman, Orphan. Who else did I see that came in? Of course, Crypto Princess, but there was somebody new that I wanted to say hi again to. Let me just see if I can go through here. Redman, thanks for joining in. Vegas Claw, everybody, good morning, good morning. Thank you for coming. All set, BC Port Corp. Let's see. There was a few people, so I really appreciate everybody that came in. Vegas Claw again. There, that's the one I was looking for. Chad Jeets, thanks for coming in, Chad. There was one more thing that I wanted to look at that Billy hasn't really given me a chance to look at. Let me just put it this way. So there are other things that go on or go along with each one of these topics, like a blog post that we have and a PDF document that talks about the risk. And like you saw, if you guys saw the members only video that came out, that was the members only video that was the debate. So that's another style very similar to the AI conversation that we have, except it's non-interactive, where they actually debate the product or the topic that you put in there. So really cool. So there's a lot of cool products that we have to offer that are coming out. So we're getting really excited about that. So we're going to have a meeting obviously tomorrow before we do the live stream. So we'll be able to hammer out some of that, and maybe you guys will be able to benefit from it. So I'm looking to be able to put out a lot more really cool content. We're definitely on the front edge of the AI thing, but it moves so fast. It moves so fast. So we're just going to try our best to keep up and use the things that are amazing. Short test stream watch channel later to see if all issues are fixed with dual casting. Okay, BC. So BC Port Corp says short test stream on his channel later. So you guys go over and see BC Port Corp. He's definitely part of the family here. Let me go and add that to the stage again, and I'll just show you real quick. So we're looking, if you see here, we have some stuff that's coming up. So there's the blog post. There's the debate. This is the risk analysis. And so that's a PDF that you can actually pull down. So we're going to hopefully get some stuff. You see it right there. There's your PDF. So there's just different things that go along with each of these topics that I can offer, at least the nerds. You know, I know that a lot of you guys are nerds just like I am. And there's so much more that we can offer. Like there's flashcards that you could go, there's quizzes that you can do on each topic. It just depends on how deep you really want to get into it. So we'll just have to see with that. But for now, that's all we've got. I appreciate you guys. It was just a little bit of a short stream. I do appreciate everybody coming in here, even the viewers over on X, even though I didn't see most of you guys' comments. But we appreciate you. We thank you very much for coming in. Hope to see you in other streams today, and hope to see you on the Billy Goat Tales YouTube live stream tomorrow. That's it. Really appreciate you guys. Love you.
In simple terms, we break it down. Complex stuff, we make it sound clear and easy for you and me. Billy Cocktails and Dave Digital bring knowledge we share. In simple terms, we're everywhere. We love you, fam. Hashtag givers gain.